you pointed out, discrimination, whether social or racial, is never just West against Asians. Like there's also discrimination among Asians as well. And sometimes it might be worse. But which brings me to talk about the movie debut that you did here in Hong Kong. You mentioned a little bit about you first debuted as an actress here in Hong Kong with the movie called Still Human, which is, of course, a movie that a lot of Hong Kongers know you by. And you also won an award as the best new performer at the Hong Kong Film Awards as well. So it's huge achievement as a first-time actress on the big screens. And for listeners who aren't too familiar with the plot, I'll just give you a quick introduction about the movie. So the movie basically tells of the story between a paralyzed Hong Kong man and his new Filipino domestic helper, who is a former nurse who has put her dream on hold of being a photographer to move to Hong Kong to earn a living. And the movie basically explores how invisible people with disabilities and foreign domestic workers are, and how they sort of find, this intersectionality and similarities in terms of their experiences, despite they are from different places. So it's a very heartwarming story. I remember watching it on a flight, and I sort of cried towards the end as well. But I just want to quickly ask you, Crisel, like, how did this opportunity came about, and how did you feel when you first received the script?
There was an open casting call in 2017, and it was just on Facebook. And I was more curious because uh, it said like, oh, a Hong Kong production is gonna make a movie which has, which puts the story of the Filipino migrant worker on the spotlight. And I appreciated that it was it was a script that was really, really fair, I think, in many different areas. I was so pleasantly surprised that when I went to the casting call, that director Oliver Chan Siu-kun actually did a lot of research, and she understood the concept. All of these things I'm telling you about the intricacies of the social dynamics, not just with the Filipinos and the rest of the world, but rather even among Filipinos. And I said, she gets it. And there was a lot of respect with the way she was treating the story. And um, and I said, wow, I'm surprised that somebody was able to get the essence of this, and that she's actually kind of willing to gamble on putting the stories of these two characters on equal footing. And I'm like, this is great. And I remember thinking that if I wouldn't be cast in the role, I would love to be part of the production. See, by this time I had been doing a lot of community work, and so I've been collecting all these stories of migrant workers. In fact, I was saying, oh, one day I'd love to be able to share them. So I've said this before. When this opportunity came up, I felt like it was a chance to make the character like an amalgamation of all these different stories and different women that I've met. And it was a chance to give a very respectful and very balanced narrative where people could make their own analysis and and give their own fair feelings towards the issue.
Yeah, I got to add some context as well, because like when you mentioned, like when you first received the script, you were so like pleasantly surprised by how fair the plot was. Like it is really something that's not common in Hong Kong, because like for those who know the media representation of foreign domestic workers on TV or on screens, a lot of the time it's very stereotypical. Maybe they aren't as smart, or like they would have heavy accents. So for Hong Kongers to be able to see foreign domestic workers to be presented this way, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the first time, but it's very, very rare. So I'm just wondering, I mean, you did mention you did a lot of community work, and of course you collected a lot of like stories of foreign domestic workers in Hong Kong. So that might sort of like help you prepare your role, right? But what was the process like as a first time movie actress at the time? How did you prepare for the role?
Mm, To be honest, I don't remember much because I just remembered that we had to cram so much filming because it was a low budget film, right? I had no idea that it would make it big. I just thought that this was a nice passion project and it had a nice message, and maybe we would go to universities and talk about and begin dialogue on diversity and intercultural communication and intercultural sensitivity. Then boom, it's like, oh, it went to the big screen, and oh, we're now in the award ceremony. And yeah, so for me it was always a social project, so I didn't have that kind of, oh my gosh, I'm an actor, I have to prepare for this role. No, for me it was like, okay, we're on set now. And to be honest, I was already running my own business at that time, right? I'd be like, okay, I have today. Okay, let me get into it. Okay, what does the director want? Now, it was a challenge for me because my medium until then had been primarily just the stage. So everything has to be big, big, big. But I took the directions from Siu Kun, and she's a brilliant director, so she got what she needed. And yeah, and the whole team was professional. They were so easy to work with, and their hearts were in the right place. Like I said, it was a low budget project, so the people who were doing it because they believed in the story, and it was such a nice environment to work in. And yeah, we just listened to each other, and followed the integrity, found the integrity of the story, and we just let it come alive.
Wow, and the efforts paid off definitely because Still Human exceeded all the expectations and won international recognition. And I mean, I'm just wondering, after you did the movie, did you ever get a chance to hear what foreign domestic workers in Hong Kong think of the movie and the portrayal of Evelyn?
Yes. So I had several of our migrant women workers come up and say, and in Filipino, of course, they would say, "Oh, Grisel, you made me cry," and I'm like, "Wow, that's like the biggest compliment," because especially people who know me, right? And like, for example, in Baumhaus, we have a lot of our nannies, our caregivers. A lot of them are Filipino migrant workers, and they said, "Teacher Grisel," they were like, "Oh, I could so relate. You know that part when you said this? Oh, we said that's so true." And I'm like, "Oh, if you can, for a few seconds, forget that you know me and think that I'm telling your story, then okay, then I must have done something good, you know." So yeah, I think that was the biggest compliment, honestly. And I've said this before, even if I won the award, if I walked out and these women would say, "Oh my gosh, that was not really a depiction of me," then that would be a shame, right? But and even if I didn't win the award, but I went out and these women said, "Oh my gosh, thank you for telling our story, and thank you for doing it with dignity," then my job was done. I think the best things in life happen when you're not going after the recognition, but you're going after the truth of the story you're telling.